Let's return to our top story now. ICAC's findings of corruption against Gladys Berejiklian and Darryl Maguire. Former New South Wales Treasurer Matt Kean is calling for ICAC to be reformed, accusing it of conducting a public political lynching that effectively ended Berejiklian's premiership. And the former New South Wales Treasurer, Matt Kean, joins me now live. Matt, thank you very much for your time this evening. Look, is this, in your view, election interference? Effectively, the ICAC ending Gladys Berejiklian's term as Premier when it's been, at the most, probably a breach of the ministerial code, and she may have gone on to win the New South Wales state election against Chris Minns.
Well, Sharri, what I'd say is that it's taken ICAC 2 years with all its resources and millions of taxpayer dollars to essentially tell us that Gladys Berejiklian hasn't broken the law, she's received no financial benefit, and they don't see that her corruption warrants a referral by the DPP for criminal charges. So there are questions that have to be asked here about why they've called her corrupt without referring it to the DPP to face criminal charges. But I think there are also serious question marks around the process, which has been nothing short of shambolic. I mean, we've seen a situation where there's been 2-year delays in telling the public why a democratically elected Premier had to stand down from her job. Now, the question has to be asked, is the ICAC better placed to determine the future of an elected Premier than the people of New South Wales? If they did these hearings, if they put them out in the public quickly so the public could assess it, they could form their own judgments at the ballot box. Gladys Berejiklian was denied that opportunity.
Look, you say there are questions over whether this is in fact corrupt conduct. What do you think? Let's delve into that a bit deeper. Clearly a breach of the Ministerial Code of Conduct. She should have disclosed a relationship when sitting on the Expenditure Review Committee and another committee awarding community grants. If you didn't hear that, clearly a breach of the Ministerial Code of Conduct. But in your view, is this corruption when she didn't financially or in any other way personally benefit from these two community groups getting grants?
Look, I mean, that's the threshold that ICAC are saying warrants corruption. However, what's very unusual here is that usually when ICAC finds someone corrupt, they refer the matter to the DPP for criminal charges. Now, this is the first instance that I'm aware of where they have named someone corrupt but haven't referred it off to the DPP for criminal charges. It's highly unusual, and I think there are question marks as to why that's the case.
Do you think they might have been under some sort of pressure to return an adverse finding because otherwise the criticisms of the body would have been so enormous that they effectively took out a Premier who was highly regarded by voters during a pandemic when the state needed leadership?
Look, I'm not going to comment on the contents of the report. It's a lengthy report and I obviously haven't read it all. I'm sure the legal experts will be poring over it. But what I will comment on is the process, which has been an utter disgrace. You've had a situation where there's been delays for 2 years before they hand down their findings. You've had a situation where secret transcripts from private hearings have been accidentally uploaded onto the website, enabling political enemies to weaponise it against Gladys Berejiklian. You've seen a situation where today there's been effectively a live TV launch of the handing down of the report. I mean, I think that's just unbecoming of an institution like ICAC. An integrity body should be more than a soap opera, and it should be certainly more than a show. And I think the public rightly are questioning the process around how this report was done and the conclusion it's drawn.
Do you think there's a gendered nature to some of the findings or anecdotes in the report?
Look, again, the report is a very lengthy report, but, you know, it does suggest that Gladys Berejiklian, a highly successful professional female, was making decisions to benefit a man. She needed to make these decisions to advance her relationship with a man. I mean, I don't believe that. I think anyone that knows Gladys Berejiklian doesn't believe that. So I was quite concerned that that was even raised.
I mean, it's clearly embarrassing and humiliating to have these text messages made public, but, you know, does it actually prove that she really thought he was the boss? I mean, this is surely, you know, private flirtation trying to make a man feel masculine when she's in such a powerful position. I mean, any woman knows that occasionally in life you have to do that.
I think what we're seeing is that after 2 years, after millions of dollars, the ICAC has basically revealed to us that Gladys was in a secret relationship with a weirdo. And that's what these texts suggest.
Do you think the corruption agency has ultimately done the people of New South Wales a disservice?
I think the ICAC is an important institution in our democracy. I think that we all want to see it rooting out corruption and going after bad guys. But in order to do that, the public needs to have confidence in them. And right now, it's the ICAC's actions that have undermined the public's confidence in it as an institution. We need to have a strong, robust anti-corruption watchdog. I'm the first one saying that it should exist and it should have real teeth.
Yes, agreed.
But I'm not going to sit here and say that they shouldn't be questioned, particularly when the process is so disgraceful. 2 years to hand down a report, which could have been done very quickly. I mean, it took the High Court less time to hand down the Mabo case. It took them only about 58 days for them to hand down their judgment into the Chris Dawson murder case, which happened 30 years ago. I mean, let's be serious here. They've revealed that she had a secret relationship with a dodgy operator. And it shouldn't take 2 years for that to have happened. It shouldn't have been then uploaded onto the public website, particularly when there are strong protections around the private hearings. They shouldn't be announcing the release date of their reports via media release as if it was announcing the date of a Taylor Swift concert. And they certainly shouldn't be out there doing a public launch of the handing down of the report when two ICAC apparatchiks marched in to hand over the report to the Parliament today in full live TV. I mean, what a spectacle.
Yeah. Look, a couple of things I want to just ask you about what you've just said. One of them, you say that what we found ultimately is that she was in a secret relationship with a weirdo. Should she have ever had to step down as New South Wales Premier for this?
Well, clearly what we've seen is that there have been question marks around the Ministerial Code of Conduct. That exists for a reason. But the question is whether or not ICAC should have taken 2 years to reveal that's the reason that a democratically elected Premier had to stand down. I mean, they could have got that information out there quickly and the public could have formed their view. We've just had a state election
but you still
where the
think
public
she
passed
should have had to
judgment
stand
on the existing government.
Sorry, Matt, just to clarify, but you still think, even if the findings were handed down quickly, you still think that that was reason for her to stand down, the awarding of these 2 grants without disclosing her personal relationship?
Well, she would have made an assessment like she did, and her assessment when she stood down was effectively that the ICAC report would take too long to come down. And God, was she right about that? It took over 2 years. So I think what we've seen here is that they've disclosed a relationship. It's up to the individuals, it's up to the public of New South Wales to cast judgment, and I question whether it needed ICAC
so it doesn't sound like you're actually
millions
sure
of taxpayer
whether
dollars to come to that conclusion.